Hello, this is a Quaker meeting. If you haven't been to one before, welcome. We call this Meeting for Worship. It's a time for mindfulness and reflection. There's no leader, and anyone can speak at any time. But at the heart of the meeting is silence. Outside of these meetings, though, Quakers are often anything but silent. Over the years, they have played a significant role in business, in banking, in prison reform, and in peace negotiations. They've been involved in the development of co-ed schools, in social justice campaigns, and the environmental movement. For a relatively small group, the Quakers have been responsible for some very big changes in the world. Nowadays, you'll meet Quakers in just about every country. But to see where it all started, we have to go back to 17th century England, just after the Civil War. We're looking for a bunch of disruptive radicals calling themselves the Children of the Light and the Friends of Truth. There they are, up in the top left-hand corner. All those other groups are disruptive radicals too. There were a lot of them around at the time. Groups with splendid names like the Grindletonians and the Muggletonians, the Ranters, the Diggers and the Levellers. All these groups were agitating for change. And the first Quakers? They were certainly agitating the church. This is George Fox, an early and soon-to-be very famous Quaker. And this is what he looks like from the front. George's celebrity status began when he sprung to his feet during a church service with a challenge for the priest. Now this was inflammatory stuff. To say that ordinary people could have a personal experience of God was, let's just say, it didn't go down well with the establishment. But these early Quakers did say it. They said it loud. And they said it often. And people listened. And so from the early preachers on Pendle Hill, the message spread. And spread. And spread. Here's George again, preaching with his characteristic passion and conviction. He's instructing his listeners to tremble at the word of God. It was this kind of thing that led a magistrate to call the group Quakers, and not in a good way. The early Quakers often found themselves up in front of the magistrate, but they didn't back down. Quite the opposite. They began to put their beliefs into action. They announced that they would no longer swear oaths, or doff their hats, or bow to social superiors. Well, why should they when they believed that everyone was equal? And so, needless to say, they made enemies. Lots of enemies. They were mocked. They were fined. They were locked up. But still the Quakers didn't go away. They just kept on asking their questions until finally, history moved on. And so did the Quakers. There was no stopping them now. Determined to live according to their values, they began to found communities and set up schools. Like this rather splendid one here, which was incidentally one of the first co-ed schools in England. By the 18th century, Quakers were major figures in the anti-slavery movement. They were building asylums to improve the treatment of the mentally ill and campaigning for prison reform. Here's Elizabeth Fry, Quaker and prison reformer. Looks familiar? This is where you'll have seen her before. The one thing Quakers didn't do, because they weren't allowed to, was to go to university. Back in the day, university entrance demanded the swearing of an oath. Something that, as you'll remember, Quakers didn't do. And so instead of studying, they set up shop, and quickly gained a reputation for fair dealing. There was no haggling in a Quaker shop. You were charged a fixed price, and you got what you paid for. It was a hit with the customers. And so the Quakers set up more shops. Lots and lots of shops. Many businesses and brands that are household names today were founded by Quakers. Quaker business owners insisted on fair treatment for their workers too. They built houses and sports halls for them, libraries and clubs, even entire villages. By the 20th century, Quakers were making their presence felt in medicine, in education, in social justice, in peace negotiations, and in environmental groups. In war, Quaker values of pacifism have led some to declare themselves conscientious objectors. And so, instead of fighting in the First World War, many went to the front line with the Friends Ambulance Unit. And later they helped establish the Kindertransport, which saved thousands of young lives by getting Jewish children out of Nazi Germany. And that, briefly, is how the Quakers got to where they are today. In the 21st century, nearly 500,000 people across the world come together in Quaker meetings. They still believe that each individual's inner experience matters, and they are still asking questions. There's no doubt about it. For a group of people known for silence, the Quakers have made a lot of noise in the world, and they will continue to do so. If you'd like to find out more about the Quakers, take a look at the website or come along to a meeting. You'll be very welcome.